What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the House of Holocrons, episode 41. Now, this one's going to be a little bit different, as of course you don't see Mike here today. Instead, I have lifelong friend Roman, with a great background in costuming, set design, and loves sci-fi. Not a huge, I wouldn't say like this level Star Wars fan, no.
Yeah, that's fair.
But fan of sci-fi, definitely. Fan of makeup, special effects, way more than even me. You're more like a technical. You like the stuff that, like, how'd they jump across the chasm and, A New Hope? With,
right.
Oh, they were tied to this cool rope system.
How do we make this happen?
Yeah. And then, of course, we will be talking about some fun hot takes because, as someone who has only seen not all the comic books, some people don't know other people's inner monologue and don't know why they're kind of a dickhead to some other Jedi. But there's all kinds of fun things we're just going to talk about and just be silly and fun because, of course, as two best friends that know each other really well, he knows exactly how nerdy I am about this stuff. And I know exactly how much he doesn't know, and the fun things I can tell him that he'll be like, that doesn't make any sense.
There's a lot that doesn't make sense.
Like the fact, okay, so a fun one, I don't know if you know this, hyperspace is actually a different realm.
Would have to be.
Yeah. So it's like the inside of the black hole, I guess. The answer in this universe is there is something. Hyperspace. It has its own things, but like you jump into it, somehow go way faster, and then leave it. But yeah, a lot of people thought it was like just instant teleportation or like faster than light travel, but no, it's not at all. Hopping through space, like time? What, realms?
Space.
Space-time?
It's space and time, because you got there really fucking fast.
Yeah. And of course, no parsecs, though, because that is a measurement of length, not distance.
Length, not distance.
See, he brings out the best in me. But yes, it is not a measurement of time. It is a measurement of distance. The Kessel Run was short because it went through a bunch of black holes. So Han Solo had big cojones to do that. Brass balls. So I would say another fun one that I know he thinks is when it comes to Mace Windu, you wouldn't say he's a nice guy.
Nah, fuck that dick. Nah. No. That character's a bitch. Mace Windu, fuck that guy. Didn't do shit. As much as you can see, and you're just gonna let the little green dude on your right make all your decisions for you, and use that as a scapegoat. So.
Yeah, and so of course, and that's the way that a lot of people have always thought about Mace Windu, especially those who have watched the prequel films and then like the original and stuff, and that's pretty much it. What you see is a very harsh demeanor that is immediately abrasive to this chosen one, this small child that was just taken from his mother and his planet, who has no idea what's going on. Even Yoda's like, I sense much fear in you, and everyone's just like, duh?
Yeah.
He's not a Jedi yet, of course he's afraid. I really enjoyed, though, the getting to know that apparently it's like this weird thing with Mace Windu where he was just like, but I just know something bad's going to happen. But it's like, but then you become almost the creator of the prophecy.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, you doom yourself by over-preparing.
Yeah.
I feel like, and that's really the fall of the Jedi there. Other character stuff with Mace is like, I guess, Shatterpoint. He has the ability to see into anything and find its weakness. So they almost say that he kind of knew that, and he's just like, no, I literally know this guy's gonna do something bad. There's something around him. Everything about him says horrible things.
So Shatterpoint shows you the physical weakness and the mental weaknesses?
Yes, he actually, in one of the comics, walks up to a wall and is able to and it just like shatters. Or he's able to go up to a person and when fighting them knows their exact weakest moment when to strike.
But what they're thinking and their intent?
That's almost like a Jedi trait in general. Mind reading. But I feel like, yes, it definitely comes across really abrasive and really mean that he's just immediately, and of course Qui-Gon, if he hadn't died, we all know that Anakin would have been fine. Obi-Wan just didn't know how to teach the kid really well. But apparently nobody else wanted to teach him either. They couldn't like tag team the Chosen One maybe? Like, hey, you take him.
That you can't have more than one master?
That's in the Sith. The Jedi don't have... Yeah, the Jedi just... No, not at all.
Because they act like it.
They're very dogmatic, yes. Yes, it's a religious cult versus a religious cult. It's just one of them isn't afraid to spill a lot of blood to do what's necessary. So then to get away from that into a different thing, would you say your favorite race of species, Trandoshan, Bosk, and
I like them a lot. They're fun to play.
Yeah.
But I think some of the coolest characters are actually mostly the Wookiees.
The Wookiees, okay.
Yeah.
Would you think like Stilt for that if you ever wanted to make one yourself, or
No,
it's gotta be
one of the little teddy bear dudes.
Oh, the Ewoks.
Yeah, so at my size, I'm like a cross between the Ewoks and the Wookiees, and I would just play that on.
A Wookiee that has like a little hood on, carries a spear.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not gonna walk around a con and I don't have that stamina. So I'll just be a halfling.
Okay, you like that makes a lot of sense because I know you also enjoy nature and stuff like that a lot too. So it makes sense you would really like the Wookiees. Wookiees, of course, come from Kashyyyk, a planet in which they are very imbued with life. Wookiees have this. Almost all of them have this strange connection to the Force. They're always so empathetical. They're huggers, 100%. Like always huggers once you get to know them.
Yeah, they're like actual sharp. They don't like energy sharp.
Yeah.
So they're still using stone weapons, and they've got that. There's a little bit of a warrior culture there. Plus, BK, you can't pass them up.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I mean, there's the other outlying characters, not necessarily about the Wookiee race, but that character too helps push the. That's pretty fucking cool.
Oh, dude, Black Chrysanthemum is awesome.
Yeah.
Just like the first time I saw him on screen too, because I only briefly heard of him in comics. I hadn't really read any of the Afro comics or the Obi-Wan comics, but then I saw him on screen. I was like, all right, I need more of this dude.
Yeah. You want to find out more on the reverse end where you have never heard of reference of, you don't read the comics, and so like you see something really cool, and you're like, huh, how do I find more about this one character? Oh, he's existed a while.
Yep.
Go find comics.
Yep, go find comics. Find out about his life in the battle arenas and all that kind of stuff. How he literally tricked Trandoshans to capture Wookiees so that he could get captured himself just to go fight in the arenas because he was so bored on Kashyyyk. Like, this did not belong on that planet. He was like, no, I don't want to be one with nature, man. I want to just bust faces.
Did it well.
Yes. Wookiees, Wookiee Jedi are really fun. That's definitely one of my favorite types of Jedi is when we get a Wookiee Jedi, because that's like a whole nother level of don't mess with that.
Yeah. Every lights, buy your own lightsaber store website. Every one of them that has a Wookiee option, they're always so cool.
Oh, it's so good. It'd be like Claymore style. Just,
yeah. A couple of those. One's made with bone instead of metal, wooden ones. And they put a lot of thought into a Wookiee lightsaber. That's pretty cool.
How many of the shows have you seen?
Not many. 5. Clone Wars, Bad Batch. Of course, The Mandalorian.
And then Book of Boba Fett is where Black Chrysanthemum comes from.
Saw that one.
Okay. What did you think of the Book of Boba Fett?
It's been a while, man. I watched it when he was new.
And that's the thing. So you really want to kind of watch him once. You take it in, and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was nice. It was a cool backstory, and I like the tie-ins that they did. And you get a lot. There's so many Fets everywhere, right? Everyone cosplays Fett, so there's a lot of love for that. So to see what he would do, and give a little bit more story that's actually on film,
and
cool.
Not just helmet on bounty hunting, because I love Tamora Morrison's acting.
Right,
the Tusken Raider scenes were so awesome.
Well done, very very well done.
Yeah. Do you think Star Wars is currently doing better, or will continue to do better even in shows versus movies? Because I know, like, DC, better in movies, or better in shows. Marvel's better in movies.
No. And I don't think so because of what both Disney and Marvel are doing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the same money-making parent company. Is, hey, we're putting out so much content. There's a new show and movie every year. So you're getting hit twice. About the time you end one, there's another one to start, and it lines up just perfectly. It's going to cause burnout.
Oh, yeah. Definite burnout.
And then the quality drops. What you're seeing and the stories that they're telling become less story-driven, more cinematic-driven, more let's pump this out with the dollar.
I definitely want you to watch The Acolyte when it comes out, because I think you'll enjoy the fact they're going to a different time period.
Cool.
So no more trapped inside the Skywalker saga. They're going to the High Republic, which is one of my absolute favorites. As you guys know, I am so into the comics and the books from the High Republic. It's way more of a renaissance. The Jedi are actually Jedi, and they're like, no, these people are hurting. We're going to go save them. The Republic doesn't like that. Wow, that's really cool for them.
It does sound cool, and the trailer was cool to watch.
Yeah. And Wookiee Jedi. I just want to see him just fuck up somebody. No force.
No force.
Throw. Just normal. He just throws him because he's a Wookiee. Blam.
I feel like they would just do more throwing and use the force to bring him back so you can do it again. Not using force pushes. It's a lot of like yo-yo.
Force clothesline.
Come here. That'd be awesome.
I always love getting to see a bit more of the dark side too and things like this because it leads itself to the more emotional stories. Do you find yourself more attracted to light side or dark side?
Neither. But before we change subjects, I can't stop picturing a Wookiee in a scorpion costume.
Oh.
Just not even using the force. Throw chain pull.
Get over here.
Chain pull. Yeah.
I would just love to see it because the mask would be here and there'd just be so much floof coming out around it.
Just don't even do the mask. Or just like something that covers right there.
Yeah, they could probably just have some kind of like a rebreather. It's Star Wars. They could do something. Nice big green tabard.
Light side, dark side. Neither.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the going too far to the extreme on both. I mean, yeah, it makes sense to utilize the force as a tool, but also to respect it as the force of the universe, right?
Yeah.
So,
neither. As many would say, the gray in between, but the Wayseeker. I just think it's a cooler title. They pretty much give Grey Jedi a new name. They call them Wayseekers.
That's cool.
Way cooler. Way better. Right. Way better. And it's literally just like, I don't follow the Council. I don't follow Republic. Whatever the Force tells me to do, I go do that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Leave me alone. Let me be.
Yeah.
Let me be.
Exactly. And so, yeah, Wayseeker 100%. Oh, that would be... I'm not. I can't be. I'm sorry. I know me. That's going to tilt at one point. Something will happen, and I'll get angry, and that will tilt way over to the dark side, and apparently it's really seductive, and I'm just going to wee.
You don't say.
Yeah. The Cosmic Force has always been a fun entity to deal with, I think, because to it, it's the fact that it's not a deity in Star Wars. I like the fact that even though they are religious cults, 100%, they're literally, it's called the Church of the Force on Jeddah, and like the Kyber towers and all these things. But it's not like an omnipotent thing, which makes it, I think, more aloof and just easier to use and manipulate, and no one feels like it's being made fun of any other religion, thankfully.
That part was well done.
Yeah. To not step on any feet and yet 100% have the Empire look exactly like somebody we know from Germany at one time long ago. Like, everyone, it's so iconic. You know immediately what you're looking at when you see that white armor and then those officer uniforms. You're like, oh, these are evil people. Bad. These are not good people. And then you find things like, have you seen the Solo movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mines of Kessel and things like that. They literally are just, work. Yep. Get us Cortosis, make us all this thing. The Empire needs your blood. That's it. It's just a grinder, almost.
Yeah. True of any Empire.
Yeah.
Fictional or non-fictional.
I really like the Kurosawa mixed with, like, spaghetti western of Star Wars. That's always was the original thing, especially because the original trilogy is what I grew up watching. Because we were born just before Phantom Menace came out, pretty much. So Star Wars was always a big thing for me. But was there any like sci-fi or fantasy movie for you? Were you more like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
I probably got more into Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, more into them than I did with Star Wars, only because the lore of it was more accepted. Yeah. Easier to get into, and other people around you would be as well. Versus you had to go, digging for some, Star Wars backstory and like what's canon, what's fan fiction, what's, versus, it's just the accessibility of it.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Accessibility. I've never actually thought about that, having it just so in my life all the time. The accessibility of Star Wars. I guess it really does almost. If you look at it, especially now, even, oh my God, it must be like a monolith of like information. There's like you're looking at some obelisk of Egyptian pictographs. Like, what does all of that mean?
Well, on the other hand too, like there's also so much deeper. You've got Wikipedia. And you see something random like, hey, there's a lot going on. What is this thing I'm looking at? There's There's an answer. It's cool. Yeah, so it's got accessibility now. Well, not to say that's a different kind of accessibility. How easy it is to get to the source material, right? You know, everyone. Lord of the Rings is required reading sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's no like, hey, this is the Star Wars book everyone's got to read because it's part of our culture. No, everyone says you got to start with 4.
Yeah. Or you can start with 1, but if you start with 4, you get more of a shock. I guess that's a good question. Then, so you would start with 4 every time if you wanted to watch it, like as a story, or maybe after it's been kind of spoiled for you the first time, 1 through is good.
I probably go 1 up more often than I do
4
historically.
5, yeah. Because it's nice to get that reveal of like, oh, Darth Vader, oh no. It only happens once.
Right.
And then the rest of it, then you get to turn it into, instead of being this story of the evil Darth Vader, it's this sad man's corruption and then his attempted redemption at the very end and stuff. So that's a way better story, in my opinion.
Definitely is.
So if you were to say Star Wars did give you or kind of like inspire you to anything, what would it be?
Special effects.
Special effects?
Yeah, you know, that's what, you know, when you're a little kid and you're watching Star Wars and you see this slug monster, you can't speak in gibberish and you're like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's a man in a costume. It's like, that's a man in a costume. I don't make a costume look like that.
Yeah.
Right? And so you want to learn, it's like, how do I make that costume? What's animatronics? That looks hard. What is how did they build that there? You know, it's like, what is a lightsaber actually made of for the set? Like, that's really cool. There's so much more detail and technicality of it that you can't not follow it.
Yeah, I've always loved it. So Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. I believe it's the Return of the Jedi one, or it is actually the first one. So Anakin's and then Luke Skywalker's, their lightsaber is actually just a camera flash lens like holder, pretty much, with a rubber grip put on it. And then the old rod, it was awesome. They used to it was like these awesome rotating things that just had this like reflective paper on it. That's why, or metal. Like the original Star Wars, the ones we really watched when we were way younger, the lightsaber was a light blue because that's the only fucking color they could make it, and the other one was light red because that was just a little easier.
Nothing else will show up.
Yeah, nothing else will show up. Green, no, that's kind of hard. Whoa, no green, no blue and red. That's it. That's all you got. We got red for laser beams, blue for the hyper engines and like all the space stuff, so we can do blue and red.
Everything's color coded, makes it easy. Guy in editing is not dying.
And it was awesome to watch, especially Lucasfilm and I know that company's name. The special effects company that was started by George Lucas. This is gonna bug me. I have to look it up.
It's not LucasArts.
Yeah, LucasArts is the video game studio. Lucasfilm, of course, is the film studio, and I can't believe I forgot this. It's one of those things that's on the tip of my tongue. But they innovated so many things for Star Wars. George Lucas and his team were able to create so many amazing things and pushed the envelope in filmmaking for the rest of literally forever. And that's really one of the things that I've always loved about it too. Is just like like Pixar and all these things exist. Industrial light and magic. It just came to me too. Okay.
It came to you the instant I was
literally you were turning.
Industrial light and magic.
Yes, that studio creating the trench run, creating these models, making these things just work. Which also, quick, I gotta just tangent real quick. I am missing one thing from streaming that I'm kind of pissed they took away from us from our DVD life. Where's all the commentary? Where's the bloopers? Where's the behind the scenes? There's no more behind the scenes from every movie. When a DVD used to come out, it had all the behind the scenes. Why not? It was just an extra.
Had its own disc and everything.
Exactly. It was the exclusive edition. Screw that. You pay $10 extra. Hell yeah, I want to. It's like another 5 hours of entertainment.
It's still called ILM.
Okay, cool. ILM, but yeah, I'm so happy.
I couldn't think of what it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it was like the podcast before the podcast.
Oh yeah, right.
You know, you just got two dudes sitting there like, hey, you know what we were doing just now? Like, and then they go on this tangent. It's just it was That's why you can do a podcast.
Right, exactly. Yeah, all of these kind of things here for capturing and like lighting and special effects that you can put through on cameras, that entirely exists because George Lucas and his team wanted to make something that had never been made before. And that's kind of like, hope. That's what Star Wars is all about. Hope and pushing forward to, for light and life, for the betterment of all mankind kind of thing. It tells a lot of stories. I always laugh at it. What would you say your response would be to people who like to say Star Wars isn't political? Yeah, man. Yeah.
Nothing nice.
Nothing nice. That makes 100% sense. Yes, that's always been a fun one when people are like keep politics out of Star Wars. It's like, again, I don't think you know what the bad guys look like, or why they look the way they look.
Yeah, they're called Empire.
The Empire, stormtroopers. It's the same thing. But it gave us so many amazing and wonderful. Pixar, fucking love Pixar. Pixar gave us all a weird obsession with mothers.
Or what they have.
Yes. But I've always really thought that having something like this has always really helped with creative outlets too. I feel like having something like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter is what kept a lot of people out. Children still, to where they don't just sit in the cubicle and let their brain shut off for 8 hours a day and then go home and let their brain shut off for the other 6 or whatever they're awake. Like, having this thing to just constantly imagine through and think about and semi-live in has kind of kept, like a youthful brain. It's allowed you to just always look on the lighter side or use it to inspire you. Recently in one of the the main run of Star Wars, Luke talks to Yoda in between episodes 5 and 6. And he's like all mad because the Force he's not receiving the Force as easily as he thought he would, because it's the only Jedi around right now, so no one can teach him shit. And Yoda says, when it is night, is the sun gone? And it's just like, that's so stupid. And it's an obvious, like, of course there's always happiness, like being happy or better times are just around the corner, not because of anything bad. Like, you can't stop the bad, but it will always morph into something good eventually. But it's just hearing it from Star Wars for some reason just makes me just like, oh, I'll remember that more for some reason. Birthdays, those are dumb. TIE Fighter, what does that stand for? How long has the Empire been reigning? What is Palpatine's first name? Dumb shit like that. Why do I know that? Because I have to. I don't know. It's locked up in there. I gotta know that. So that would also be a reason for more expansion, because if you keep everything new, it keeps that inspiration. Maybe our generation will have less dementia because we're also off in our own heads, living on our own world, trying to escape the recessions.
Or more, because you've...
Oh, yeah, true.
You said bye-bye.
Whee! I'm using the poles.
It's everyday happy shit in front of the window.
Right, yeah.
I have the Force.
I have the Force. Yes, exactly. Oh, that was such a good movie. I think Rogue One is definitely one of my favorites because everyone dies in the end. Like, it's
Star Wars Saving Private Ryan.
Yes, Star Wars Saving Private Ryan. That's a great way to put it. Mandalorian is like Gunsmoke, Star Wars. If you know what Gunsmoke is, you need to get a check soon.
Take your ibuprofen.
Yeah, take your ibuprofen. Star Wars to me has always really helped with a lot of personal stuff. But I also feel like it's also just helped connect a lot of people, because it is just something easily to connect with. Like with, we also do Renaissance Fair stuff and sword fighting, and he does more full armor combat and whatnot. And that's just another sense of like this brotherhood. And that's, of course, an attractive thing with like Star Wars, the Sith, the Jedi, and all these things. Like there's this sense of camaraderie amongst fans or people who enjoy the same nerddom, as it would be called nowadays, I guess. And Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter is the same thing. Of course, Harry Potter has they have a whole house thing. Like fucking people literally will base their whole life off of what Harry Potter house they are.
That was a quick and effective cult.
Yes. Right, exactly. Whee! just spun forever.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened with Star Wars, but sadly it's also the same thing. It's like, oh, most of the people who really like the dark side are also just edgy creeps, but yeah, fuck it.
All those emos over there.
Yeah, all those damn emos. I have always really enjoyed the fact that when you do talk about Star Wars and we get to like share it, it's such a different view from mine because it is such, you know, and I wouldn't say outsider is such a wrong term, but like removed. It's a removed point of view.
Same thing.
The same fucking thing.
Same fucking thing.
It's from us from a different point of view, as I have titled the episode, because different point of view.
Makes it important to have various conversations, even just feelings on how you feel about a movie, not necessarily Star Wars, but just any movie, and you start seeing other people's perspectives on, hey, I saw this in this scene, like, you saw that? How did you see that? I was paying attention to this over here. And even just watching something flat on the screen, you get different perspectives visually, what they think of the scene going on, you get it mentally, and you just, Star Wars can take it so much further than, you know, most other movies can.
Yeah. Because
the universe, it's literally the universe, it's so much bigger.
Yeah. Have you completely caught up on The Mandalorian? No.
Yeah, no.
No. Oh man, that's gonna be a good one. Once you. I know you also enjoyed the Mandalorian culture and stuff like that because you know warrior culture, very brotherhood bound, very honor and respect to each other.
To each other.
No one outside of the planet. Free game. So, if you had to visit one Star Wars planet that you know of, which one do you think you would choose?
What's the planet in the Solo movie where they're watching the races?
Planet in the Solo movie where they're watching the races. Well, there is Corellia's at the very beginning. Watching the races, man. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't remember Solo. I guess that well right now. I'm trying to think like Canto Bite. That sounds like a planet where they do, but that's in the prequels. That's way not in Solo.
Anyway, that one looks like it'd be fun.
Okay.
And
the giant casino kind of planet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a Canto Bite. Yeah, that's Canto. The big casino planet is Canto Bite. So maybe I think they might have gone there. Solo was one of those ones I watched kind of twice, and I like it. I just
That one, that particular planet was more of hey, that's a slightly safer Tatooine. Otherwise, the answer would be probably Tatooine because it's in every show, every movie. Like it's an important planet.
Right. Coruscant would be kind of fun to visit, of course, giant city.
Yeah.
Nar Shaddaa is also a giant city, but it's run by the Hutts. Way seedier. If you had to choose any color for your lightsaber, what would it be?
Reddish orange.
Reddish orange? Ooh, have you seen any of the new leaked images for Ahsoka?
No.
You will love certain characters once you get to watch that one. Someone I bet if I show you the lightsaber color, you'll probably be like that.
Keep popping up on screen.
Yeah. Here, actually, let's see. But it is a reddish orange is always a good one. That's a absolute gorgeous color, like lava.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see. It's in the new Ahsoka series. And
a little bit more yellow than that.
A little bit more yellow? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like closer to that.
Yeah. Or like this one?
Yeah, like that one.
Yeah, nice, vibrant reddish orange.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
More, most sabers have that white stripe in the middle.
Yeah.
You want it orange enough that it almost looks yellow in the middle, coming out, fading into red.
Ooh, that's pretty. That's pretty. One of my favorite ones because it's just edgy as shit. And it's just fun. In the online game, it is black in the center and radiates out to red.
I have seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Or I've always loved the coaxial crystal in KOTOR, which is literally formed by is it coaxial? But there is a crystal that is formed by a star that goes supernova and takes out an entire planet, and that compression and like super energy traps every dead person's energy and all that into the crystal. So like when you activate it, it's screaming almost. Yeah, that's just fucking. That's one of those things I'd be like, hey, just keep that in the collection just in case every now and then I just want to pop it out and be like, that's demented, and put it away. I feel like if you grab it, you're probably already gonna be like, mine.
You can hear electricity when it's going, right?
Yeah.
Like you can hear that burr sound.
Uh-huh.
So if you turn on a lightsaber that's screaming, it's gonna drive you fucking nuts. You do not even, don't even open it.
Not even just screaming, but it sounds like everyone who died in that instant screaming. So like millions of screams at once.
I don't even want to see it. I want to be on the same planet. I don't want to be in the same quadrant as it.
There are a few really evil things. Another one of my favorite, like little Old Republic funfairs is there was one Sith Lord who actually learned how to pretty much create immortality for himself. He attracted a bunch of other Sith Lords to this planet and then consumed all of their life and the entire planet's life. It just literally absorbed all of it in one go and became an immortal Sith.
Complete tangent because I'm high. Imagine eating all that in one go. And the massive fucking force fart that you're about to have.
Yeah. It's gotta like, how do you process that much force through you at one time?
Exactly. I mean, you know what it smells like when you eat pepperoni, but like if you're gonna eat an entire like being,
an entire planet, all of it at once, all the animals, all the vegetables, all the birds, everything, the humans, the non-humans.
That's where black holes come from. That's just
just antimatter. You just shit out a black hole. So it gets rid of all the evidence.
There you go. No evidence plus immortality.
Yep. Just don't get trapped in your own shit black hole. That's
the test.
That's the test. That's how you know you're really powerful. You got to get away from that. I have always really enjoyed the cat. I have always really enjoyed the aspect of Star Wars too, where it gives a lot of people that sense camaraderie. Felines are amazing, but I really think that if I had to choose a favorite movie, my favorite movie is definitely Return of the Jedi. I've always loved that like culmination of Darth Vader and Luke's story. To you, do you have a favorite Star Wars movie?
Right now, because you haven't seen it enough, I'd say Solo.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's like Han, of all this random shit that he knows about for Star Wars. What happened in Solo again? What planet were they on?
I remember Canto Bight. I just had to eventually remember what the fuck was going on. I'm more into Kira and the Red and Crimson Dawn and what that's up to. I'm way more into that part of that timeline.
There's a lot there. There's a lot left unanswered there.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why it's one of my favorites, because everything else you can find the answer to. You can find the answer to the questions this gives me.
Eventually you might have some answers because there is actually a new Kira book coming out soon. Okay. So it should cover a lot of her time as Crimson Dawn's leader. And of course there's the comics Hidden Empire where she tries to kill Palpatine and Vader. That was fun. So
where does this lie in the timeline in regards to one of Darth Maul's deaths?
So Solo, you see Darth Maul.
Yeah.
So he's going to be alive, I think, for a few more years because he dies on Tatooine to Obi-Wan Kenobi in that duel in Rebels, which is another animated TV show.
Sure.
Rebels. Okay, cool. So yeah, the Twin Sons episode where they had that awesome last little fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's a few years after all that. He like eventually just goes mad again. He's like, meets up with Ezra. All that stuff in Rebels happens, then he finally knows where Obi-Wan is, and that's his whole life. That's the only reason he's alive still, is to go kill Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right.
But it's also, I love that, oh, God, that's such a good episode, just laying there dying, just like, will we be avenged? And Obi-Wan's just like, don't worry, I found someone who will save all of this.
If you were to remove the horns on Darth Maul, and it just looked like specks instead, just a bald red dude, he's the Krillin of Star Wars.
He has died the most. He has the most death counts.
You can have a Darth Maul death count.
Darth Maul death count. And it doesn't help that his brother tries to jump in and then dies. Of course, what a surprise. Yeah. He doesn't come back. Savage Opress, great name. Savage Opress does not return from the dead. He just dies because Sidious says so. I hate that guy. Horrible rule of two. That's another, right? Like, the rule of two, only two Sith. And yet this dude has let every single one of his apprentices have apprentices.
Yeah.
He did nothing. The dude literally was just there long enough to be like, I am in the Senate. Ooh, pull this string, pull that string. Oh, all the other things that the other 2 and 3 Sith Lords before me sat up. Now perfectly fall in line. That's just opportunist. That's not a Sith. Anyone could have done that. Jar Jar Binks probably did that. Darth Jar Jar.
Darth Jar Jar. I'm here for Darth Jar Jar.
That would be such a fun twist.
What color would his lightsaber be? Because if you do blue-green, you can't see it underwater.
Yeah. I feel like his would probably be just like he'd have like a dark black lightsaber. Like a dark purple almost, like ebony.
If you turn on a lightsaber underwater, are you boiling the water?
There's a way to do it. Kit Fisto, because he's a Natolans come from a mostly water planet. There's like a setting to where, yes, it kind of like creates a small pocket of bubbles around it instead of like constantly boiling it, which is just Star Warsification. Of course, through science, that's not possible. If it's fucking plasma, it's going to be a certain degree.
Yeah. Just
or hotter.
Up all the water getting closer to you.
Yeah. No, it doesn't do that because Star Wars.
So what would they have made instead of a saber?
An aquatic race?
Yeah.
Probably spear. It's just you can swim with it. Stabbing is going to be your most effective weapon underwater.
Do you think it would stay lit the whole time, or they shoot it because of the vaporization of the water? So it's instead of a thrust, it's a follow through. On off, on off, on off.
From what I think it like the way they fought a lot was like mostly like swimming in and like a lot of like diving cuts and stuff, or like anything that goes into like a nice like outward reaching motion.
But
you probably want to turn it off if you were going to do a quick turn, because then you're
just steam in your face.
That's actually that's what I like about lightsabers, is the idea of being able to like slash and then just like go for like that boom.
Yeah, there's not enough of that.
Right. That's why I've always loved the fight with Obi-Wan and Maul in the end, just because it is like they only clash once. It's just he makes a stance, then he does a stance, then kind of changes it. Boom, dead. It's perfect.
Yeah.
He learned what he did. He tried to do the same thing he did to Qui-Gon to him, and he was just like, that's not going to work. Love it. I think the fighting's getting a lot better, too.
Yeah, it's getting a lot better.
A lot better. Have you seen the Obi-Wan series?
I've only seen 2 episodes.
2 episodes? Oh. The Darth Vader and Obi-Wan fight is amazing.
I believe it.
But a lot of them still, yes, the fighting has only gotten better. Of course, from the original trilogy to the prequels was fucking night and day. Because, of course, in the originals, it's more of like almost like a long sword and katana style.
Yeah.
Very two-handed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when the prequels show up, they're just like, woo!
They spend a lot more time fighting backstage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've always really enjoyed, though. I think I actually kind of really like the original trilogy's combat a bit more for story. Because maybe that's just because it reminds me more of like those old Robin Hoods and the old fantasy operas and stuff like that. The old very awesome tales and hero's journey, pretty much. That's all Star Wars is the hero journey.
Yeah.
But I've always really enjoyed the combat because it was more dramatic. Whereas, in the prequels, it's amazing. It's fun to watch. The fight on Mustafar between Anakin and Obi-Wan is it's fucking amazing. Fucking amazing. I love the Battle of Heroes. But it is like there's no talking, there is no dramatic pause. Like the fight is the entire purpose in the prequels. It is leading up to that crescendo moment. Whereas in the originals, the big moments were dialogue moments.
Yeah.
Instead of fighting. So I hope in the prequels and the sequels, there we go. The sequels had moments where I could see them trying to obtain a bit of both, but it just didn't catch as well. There was so much who's doing what.
I feel like the bits were longer.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying, you've got one set's story, one set's fighting, one set's trying to do both. But when you're trying to do both of these had the perfect amount of time. We're spending this much time talking.
Mm-hmm.
We're spending this much time fighting. There's like, hey, we're going to fight. We're going to talk. We're going to fight. We're going to talk. So you don't get the same draw you into the moment because the moments are too fast.
I guess that's kind of almost just the way the world has begun to work in general now.
Yeah.
Quicker, faster, more in your face about it. I'll always fucking still, no matter what, when Rey's trying to pull that ship down and shoots lightning at it and thinks she kills Chewbacca, watching a Jedi use Force lightning, that shit was awesome. I love that because I was like, yeah, but she can do it. Now she knows she can do it. I mean, what's stopping her from like, oh, a bunch of droids are attacking? Summon a little bit of that out of you. You're not killing anything. It's a droid. Do you? Okay, I guess it's got a good point. What is your view on droids in like? Because I know with Solo, she's trying to start like a rebellion. She wants the droids to be free.
Yeah.
But if you constantly wipe their memory, they don't really seem to care as much. But who would? If they constantly were just born again.
Yeah. Everything's new. There's no functionality there. You just have not C-3PO. You got R2-D2 running around going, I've seen this before. That dude's an asshole. But why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he tell anybody?
And the sequels?
Why didn't R2-D2 warn anybody about anything?
Oh, yeah.
After being in the Clone Wars and knowing everything, what's happening, who everybody is, doesn't say shit to anybody.
Yeah.
Until Leia's like, oh.
And he's like, oh, Obi-Wan, yeah, I know that, bro.
I don't recall ever having a droid.
Bruh. No, I there are a few moments that the story is, of course, going to be like, because that was fucking, 70s and 80s and shit.
Right.
So, I'm excited for the future movies. I know one of them, of course, the Dawn of the Jedi one's going to be fucking so good.
Well, before we get to future movies.
Yeah.
Before we got the sequels, and we get the first trailer where Kylo Ren stops, everyone talked about how this is going to be the lead up to one of the most strongest Force users we've seen.
Yeah.
Some opinions have changed, and then of course you get to see him as a character, and you're like, I don't like this guy. I was ready to root for this guy, and it feels like a letdown. How do you feel about Kylo Ren through that timeline, and now after watching the movies? It's been a while.
I am now able to cheat though again. Comic books.
Yeah.
Love Kylo Ren. The story where he goes through with Luke and like how much he was really fighting this inner darkness in him, knowing that Darth Vader was his grandfather and how like powerful he was and yet terrifying he was. And hearing just this call of the dark side within himself, being a very emotional young man, he has got so many good stories. How he bleeds his crystal when he kills all of these other Knights of Ren and takes down a few Jedi. And then in his own private moments when like Vader couldn't even conquer certain planets, Kylo Ren went there and conquered all of them with just himself and his lightsaber, just to prove a point. Like he went above and beyond Vader, but we never got to see that.
No, we didn't.
In just the sequel movies, Kylo Ren, in his moments where he gets to be himself and really express, Adam Driver does amazing. But he needed more, like you said. It needed to be less about trying to have Finn and Poe and Rey and... Bro, there were only... Like, all the three main cast, like Luke, Leia, Han, were pretty much all together in most of their scenes. So it was only like 3 jumps. You didn't have 18 jumps per, like, 45 minutes to tell everyone's story.
Right.
And that's, I think, what suffered through a lot of it, too. Kylo Ren's story is way better in the comics because those comics focus on Kylo Ren.
Sure.
They tell his inner monologue. They show his methods. They show his means. They show why he would care about Darth Vader more than his parents who love him. Because he was dragged around the whole time in this new republic that was fledgling and constantly fighting, and while his dad would then run off and take him to go do these smuggling runs where he would almost die.
Do you get more information in the comics and the stories about how Luke justified to himself trying to kill this kid in his sleep?
Yes. You pretty much, and a lot from like the other books, like the one I have over there, amazing book, The Shadow of the Sith. Luke is... That's his ultimate failure moment. That's his almost falling to the dark side. Because what had happened is he had been training with Ben and trying to get everyone and bring back all of these Jedi and be the best Jedi ever. In his search to become so great, in his yearning, in his obsession with becoming like Yoda, with becoming like these ancient Jedi and re-imbibing the Force and bringing the Jedi Order back, he completely lost his way and was so terrified of a dream he had in where Ben was destroying everything, just like with the Jedi, he was his own downfall. he would constantly worry about it and see these small signs where Ben would snap or Ben would be angry with someone. And then eventually it just got to the point where he had that horrible dream, and he would rather have killed Ben in those brief seconds than let the Jedi die again and fail.
Made his own prophecy.
Yes. He was obsessed and attached to the idea of being a Jedi more than be a Jedi. Because he wanted to be a mentor and a master and a teacher. Master Luke Skywalker. Instead of just Jedi Luke Skywalker.
Does he spend time in the dark side?
Not so much. Kinda.
That used to be a thing with the stories that are no longer canon.
Yes, in the EU he actually studies under Sidious for a while and joins the dark side. In the comics right now, he went into a Sith crystal to try and purify it. And we learned, this is the first time we learned this. It's fucking amazing. When a Jedi purifies the Sith crystal, they have to remove the hate and the suffering that's poured into it to bleed it. That's what turns them red.
Okay.
So you go into it, but in that moment you're going into it, you actually go into the Force moment where that crystal was bled, and the Sith, an imprint almost, is in there. So now he's in front of this ancient Sith Lord, and she just is going off on him like, you don't even understand power. You came here to try to kill me? Isn't that violent? You want to be a Jedi? And grabs his hand and just forces him into this explosion of dark side. But he feels all this power from it. He then gets another crystal and he turns it green. That's where he's going to make his green lightsaber in Return of the Jedi. We know he becomes a Jedi, but he's thinking about it. He takes the red crystal anyway and doesn't purify it. He wants to meditate on it more and see what he can learn or something maybe. So he's playing with it. I mean, he force chokes those two Gamorreans like that in Return of the Jedi, no problem.
Yeah.
That's not a normal light side thing, to just kill two people.
Sleep.
Yeah, he's sleepy. No, he's just pinch a trachea real quick. They'll go to sleep forever.
That's how he goes to sleep at night. He's like, I just put them to sleep.
Yeah, I just put them to sleep for a while.
They're going to wake up.
Yeah, eventually, they're going to wake up, I promise. But yeah, it's a story that I feel like they could have told in literally just another 5 minutes of, hey, instead of him just going, you could have also shown 10 minutes of that movie could have been a bit more explanation on Luke and building up. Because the first Luke you gave us was, hold on, Luke Skywalker that we've known so far, not saying he's not allowed to change, but everything we've known about Luke Skywalker leading up to the sequels was, he's the hero. He literally threw down his lightsaber and said, I will not kill you, Sidious. I will not bow to you. I am a Jedi like my father before me. That was his whole move. He literally, threw his lightsaber down and refused to hurt anyone who was going to kill his sister or every one of his friends, rule the galaxy. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. So why would he all of a sudden, in the next movie, be like, I don't care about nobody? What? They could have explained it and for some reason just didn't.
Can't be hurt if you're an ostrich in the sand.
Right, yeah. Boop.
It's like everyone who dies around me, I don't know about it.
Exactly. If I'm just here drinking blue milk, greenish blue milk.
The fact that we watch him milk it, and then he takes up that big gulp, which is looking like the old Got Milk poster. So, what you're talking about with the bleeding the crystal, and they're kind of essentially in there. How sentient is a Force ghost?
Force ghosts are sometimes all or none. If a Force ghost like Yoda or Qui-Gon, they are fully sentient. That is them. They, instead of becoming one with the Force of the universe when they died, chose to actually keep their personality. They are entirely there. But they also now exist through all time.
Would one of those crystals with a piece of Sith Force Ghost in there, if they were to convince someone to keep bleeding it until it got strong enough with the Force, could they reanimate themselves from the crystal?
Probably. Darth Momin haunted his mask. He poured his hatred and his last essences of life into his mask. Anyone who wore it would be possessed by him. And he eventually tricked Vader, and he's the one who built Darth Vader's castle. And he tricked him into doing so to bring back Padme, but he actually brought his body back. Yeah. So it's totally possible. And it's amazing because, in those moments they have to pour all this hatred and pain into the crystal to bleed it to make it red and stuff. But in that moment, if they're in there, that is still, though not really them, because it's actually the Kyber that was imprinted by them. Kyber itself is a actual somewhat living entity.
Okay.
But it is a pure beacon of the Force. It's cool because it grows out of this thing called kyberite, which is null to the Force. Like the Force does not affect it at all. But it's actually more like a channeling, and then from the edges of kyberite come kyber crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And the kyber crystal is usually clear until a Jedi bonds with it and meditates with it, and then it takes its own personality from the Jedi, combining that with its own weird little like semi-personality, and creates its color, hue, and abilities. Like a lot of lightsabers, honestly, the reason they're like it looks so light in the prequels is because a Sith has to force everything. That's why their attacks are so powerful, because they dominated the crystal. A Jedi, the crystal is imbued with it. The lightsaber itself, if it can, will try to move its own just to protect the Jedi, because it wants to protect its bond.
How would Anakin's lightsaber feel about his son wielding it?
It's actually, they talk about it in the comics. He has to get a new one because that one gets broken and taken from him, and he loses it in Bespin City. So he uses a Jedi Guardian, the yellow one. And Dr. Kawada talks about how, oh, you had your father's lightsaber. Yes, that one would probably have much more respect for you and bond with you because it is familiar. It literally knows your father, so it would work far better. But it also was a weaker lightsaber to a degree because it had been used for something so terrible. And it had that connection too. That's why, like, when Rey touches it, she gets like all these horrible flashbacks, and you hear all this like "Anakin, no!" and like stuff like that. And, like,
so you could pass down a family lightsaber for generations, and then if they meditate correctly on the crystal,
see
it's
everyone.
like fucking Avatar.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Yeah, it's like the Avatar state pretty much. Then, that's why like the reason Palpatine returns and is so powerful is because he has a mountain of kyber that he's torturing underneath him in a Sith temple. Just focusing dark side energy. And that planet itself is already a dark side nexus. It's a hotspot for that energy. So he literally built a conduit for the planet. So that's why he's that powerful. And they don't explain any of that either. It would have been cool. It would have been like, oh, no, that makes sense why he could be powerful enough to literally return from the dead. And essence transfer and all that kind of stuff. Because he literally has this massive battery of hatred and pain underneath him to fuel his body.
Does the Force innately want to be dark side? Hold on. So, anytime that there's a discussion or further into, diving into the story of a Sith, they're always like crazy bad. This dude reanimated a mask. This dude has a temple that he's torturing stones in. There's all these stories. The main Jedi warning is how intoxicating the Force is. Mm. So the more you get it, the more you want it, and the more your thoughts start changing for the purpose of the Force, right? Because you're utilizing it, it's trying to utilize you. So it's corrupting the Sith to be furthermore Sith, like the Force wants to be dark side. Mm-hmm. Whereas the light side and the Jedi are always like, oh, that's dark side, I can't think down that way. I have to flow with the Force and not try to be a part of it and use it. Does the Force innately want to be dark side?
No. No. The way to look at the dark side of the Force is like methamphetamine kind of level. It is not that the methamphetamine itself is an evil thing, but for some reason it's so good, people will do evil for it. The Jedi are the true balance of the Force, due to the fact that a true Jedi or a true Force user, like the Bendu kind of thing, is like a being who understands death is death, life is life. I should not interfere in everything, but I should interfere in things that I can save that will not further react to kill everything. Like they must plan and choose and be forever in this constant state of light and dark. That is the wildfire that cleanses the Force, that regrows. The waters bring life. That is that system. That is the light side of the Force. It is bastardized in the prequels, and we don't see it how it truly should be. But that is the true essence of the light side of the Force. The dark side is necessary, but the other main issue, though, is the fact that the dark side makes you so powerful, it takes you from a 6 to a 10. Why give that up? But the Sith are even more evil. This is why the Sith are so fucking cool. The Sith don't want to be a part of the Force. The Sith are actually trying to control it. The Jedi flow in the river. The Sith are taking a giant bucket and damming it. They're building dams and hydroplanes to power themselves. So the Sith are so on the far end of the dark side that even the Force itself would rather corrupt and kill them slowly, or however it needs to, than allow them to exist. And they have to learn to use that pain and anguish of literally dying from the inside out to fuel that internal fire within themselves, or get burned up by it and become mad nothings, or just die by their apprentice, or however it happens. The Sith are literally trying to take the essence of God and make it theirs.
So you're saying that it's not necessarily that the Force had intent of dark, but necessarily it needed to utilize it so that it can not break down the dam, but what built the dam.
Yeah.
So the dam would erode on its own.
Exactly. If there's no dam builders, there's no dam. So if I can just kill all the dam builders slowly, or just make them hate each other and become all paranoid and sit in a corner like, the voices, then cool, because then they can't build any more dams. While these guys come through and try to knock the dams down.
The Force is your permission to be like, well, this may be bad now, but it's for the greater good.
Exactly. And the Jedi are trying to always push that greater good, while the Sith are literally trying to remove themselves from the whole equation and be like, no, I will do whatever I want. That's why Darth Traya from KOTOR 2 is one of my favorite Sith Lords ever, because she was like, I have an idea. I don't like the way the Force treats the worlds. I think the fact that it exists at all creates conflict. I'll kill it. And that didn't work out very well for her, because the Force was like, I need to make a Jedi stop this, please. It didn't want to die. It is, it's like, but is it sentient then? Is it like, but then you always get to that philosophical question. It still sounds like an angry kid with a magnifying glass going, meh, meh. Because why do these bad things get to happen then? But we got to remove ourselves from ourselves there and be like, it's not that world. This is literally in a universe far, far away. There is no cosmic karma like that. It's literally just the Force is just this weird entity. I hope we get to learn more about that in the future movies, though. The Dawn of the Jedi, where we get to learn about, hopefully the first Jedi, how they were connected to the Force, the wills of the Force, like we see in Clone Wars, these literal embodiments of the Force, that these priestesses that were able to just remove themselves from life but exist in the Force. So hopefully we get to see more of that stuff, and it answers a lot of those questions. Yeah. That would definitely be a good thing, because that's one of the biggest things that we all want answered is why. In our world and their world. Why? Yeah, I look forward to the future movies. There's going to be more with Rey. They are going to do probably a whole nother saga with her, rebuilding the Jedi Order and all that. I swear to God, Finn better be a Jedi. That's, again, another storyline. Like, how are you going to give us this First Order Stormtrooper, redeems himself, finds this Jedi, constantly is has super luck and has these feelings and is trying to tell her something, and you're literally not going to make him a Jedi. You've got to be fucking kidding me. What? That made no sense. Finn would have made an amazing Jedi, and I think he needs to be a Jedi. Period. If you could see Star Wars go anywhere with a story, where would you like to see one of the next stories go?
I want more on the I don't even know how to word it, but I want more information on the spice trade that's going on, this intergalactic issue. I want to see more of the smaller tribal cultures that are around the galaxy there. Even the Sand People, getting more on them, seeing more on. That was a really interesting part of Clone Wars, is you get into more of the story of the worlds and seeing, especially as it evolved into the end, more and more spice trade, more and more issues, and just the issues with the community. Yeah. Something more in how it's affecting everything, and even you could watch an evolution of this area wasn't that bad, spice got in, corrupted from the inside out,
Have you seen the trailer for Star Wars Outlaws, my friend?
Yeah.
It is the new Ubisoft game, open world. Pretty much we're all thinking GTA 5 meets Star Wars. Coming out 2024. You play a smuggler/runner who works for the Pikes, and it's during Han Solo being in Carbonite kind of time period.
I'd watch a Pike show.
Yeah, and you're working with the Hutts. You're on Tatooine, and you are a smuggler who is running from the Empire or working with the Empire. Like, there's literally an open world system where you can either go with the Empire and, like, sure, be their lapdog, or constantly have to run away from them because you're like, pew. It's going to be a really fun game, and I bet you're gonna love it. It sounds right up your alley. Then that's the story exactly that you were wanting. Is that nice underworld? What's going on with all these spice trades and all of these cartels, or what are they? Syndicate. There we go. Syndicate.
Yep, that's the word.
Yeah. Crimson Dawn. And it's going to be during some of that time period, too. So we might actually get to see Kira and the Crimson Dawn in action in the video game. That'd be so fucking dope. Oh, dude. Also, Emilia Clarke, she's really fucking gorgeous. So I would love to see more Khaleesi. Kira. Yeah. Khaleesi of the stars now. Not just the moon. Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Thank you all so much for joining us as me and my best friend here got to just talk Star Wars, which I don't get to do very often with him. So, because, we got all kinds of other shit to talk about besides just Star Wars. So now I got to just kind of spew Star Wars facts at him. That's just always the good stuff. Again, thank you all so much for joining. Make sure to go down, leave a comment down below what your favorite Star Wars movie is and what got you into Star Wars. Have an amazing rest of your day, and as always...
Or what did you get into because of Star Wars?
Yes, what did you get into because of Star Wars? What did it inspire you to do or become? Thank you all, and may the Force serve you well.